It's how we distinguish the difference between country and place. And this story here is about Lake Frome, which we know as Munda is the Adnyamathanha name for it. And as you can see, there's these different tones, and the tones that have been created through the pigment. Now, I'm lucky enough to harvest the ochre from country. There's a site just outside of Lyndhurst, and there's a site just outside of Nippabunna. So what you see is grinding it down into a powder-like pigmentation, and it's through mixing this I'm able to create the structure of the painting. As you can see, there's a lot of texture, and if you zoom in, what we're trying to tell here is the story of the ochre. So it's the skin of the ochre embedded within that. So as you can see on this painting, there are 4 strong lines, and they're symbolic to the moiety system. So as an Adnyamathanha person, you're born into this system and you're given a name. You're either an Urdu or a Mathri person, and that really gives your relationship to all living things. So as a Mathri person, I'm given a wind, and that's south wind. I'm also given a plant and an animal, and that plant is the quandong, and that animal is the kangaroo stick-necked rat. Now that animal used to live out a special place on country, and that place today we know as Anjapina. So what you can see in here is that as an Aboriginal person, you're related to all living things, and that gives your roles and responsibilities to really care for country and place. Lake Frome Munda was created by the red kangaroo, which we know as the woodloo, and it's a special story around the relationship of the eastern grey, the Yura, which we know as the munja, and it's about both kangaroos going out in country and going out to find food, so harvesting food. Now the eastern grey Yura wasn't so lucky and wasn't able to find any food, whereas the red kangaroo was out in country and he was finding a whole bag of food. He had this hole, he had this water, which really gave a lot of nutrients into the body, so he was strong and sturdy. Now what the red kangaroo wasn't doing, he wasn't sharing the food with the munja, the grey kangaroo, and that meant the munja became frail. Now what we know about a lot of our stories, it teaches you how to track. So the grey kangaroo started to track the red kangaroo and found his source of food and water, and he was quite excited by this, so he started to eat and get that nutrients in the body, and the red kangaroo wasn't happy with this. And now when you think of the characteristics of the kangaroos, you see the red kangaroo is a big kangaroo, he's strong, he's muscular, and the grey kangaroo is short, he's tubby, his fur is, you know, mixture of greys and blacks and so forth, and that's because they became entwined in this massive dispute, this fight, and it was the pulling of the red kangaroo's arms by the grey kangaroo and his legs that kind of lengthened him out, and it was the pushing down by the red kangaroo, the grey kangaroo, which determined the size. So after their fight, they went their separate ways, and that night the grey kangaroo was laying on the ground, and he pulls out this stone, and he had this wound, and it was from the fight. So he takes this stone, he blows on this stone, he creates massive landforms, which you know as the Gammon Ranges. And the woodloo, the red kangaroo, sees these ranges coming towards him, so he sweeps his tail and he pushes this landform back, and he creates this spot now where there's no grass that grows. Now because the red kangaroo was so far away from the hills and the valleys, he needed to create a water source, so he created Lake Frome, beautiful water that he can drink. Now the grey kangaroo, the munja, wasn't happy with this, and he thought, I can't have this the way I was treated, so he poisoned it, and it created this salt lake. Now what we know about this story, it's about the characteristics in terms of the physical makeup of both animals. We know the living environments, the grey kangaroos up in the hills, the reds out in the plains. Now this is also connected to another story, it's about First Nation resources. So there's another creation story with the Ukra coming down from the Gammon Ranges down Ukrawula Creek, and he comes to Lake Frome, and he was so thirsty he drank the water from it. Now little did he know it was poison and it was salt. As the Ukra is moving back across country, he vomits up, he projectiles everywhere, and he leaves this poison in the earth. Now the Adnyamathanha people have known this for a long period of time through their stories, and today we'd know that as Beverley Uranium Mine. So it's First Nation resources, it's uranium left in the ground, the Yata, so that's another story. The ochre on this painting has great significance to the story because it's symbolic of place, symbolic of the Lake Frome. It's referred as Munda. So if you're looking from an aerial view, the shape of it is like a bag with a drawstring. So I'd want the people are not to walk on this. It is bad spirit and you might not come back off that lake. So it's like being caught in the bag.